What is up, everybody? My name is Brian, and you are listening to the Misfit Sessions podcast. We have a special guest today, so just hold on, and here we go. As always, I'm joined with my co-host, Kris Spencer, the owner-operator of Max Fit Meals and Nutrition, Barney's Blend, Forbidden Labs, and you name it, he's part of it.
Max Fit Meals.
Max Fit Meals.
MaxFitMeals.com. Brand new website coming
Very soon.
within a week.
So,
And
Kris,
speaking of brand new websites, not talk about me, which I love to do, but we do have a brand new website for Barney's Blend.
Barney'sBlend.com is up and running. We're getting ready to do a full-on launch here in the next couple of days. I would say it's probably about 5 days away. It's out, but as far as pushing it out to the masses, we're getting ready to launch everything.
Nice.
So,
Well, enough about us and what we're doing. We got a guy who's doing some amazing stuff. Dropped an amazing book this week, right?
This week on Monday.
On Monday. Available where?
Amazon.
the link is actually in the description for
Is it?
for the show. Yes, the link's in the description. So we are super.
Number one bestseller on the first day.
Is it really? That's
Yes.
amazing.
And we actually, right now, are, as of yesterday, actually, we were sitting at number 33 in new releases in one of my big, hairy, audacious goal categories,
Yeah.
which was personal transformation.
Wow. Okay.
And guess who's number one in that category?
Tell me.
Oprah Winfrey.
Wow, and you're number 33?
And I was number 33
That
as
is
of
a
yesterday.
huge.
Now, we dropped a
accomplishment.
little bit, people. We dropped a little bit in the
That's
rankings
all right.
this morning.
Click that link in the description.
So
Yeah,
we
let's
need
get 'em
to
back up
go.
there, right?
We need to go back up. I'm not trying to displace the queen because she's the queen of positivity. We all love a little Oprah, and we know that everything Oprah touches turns to gold.
Right.
So I need a little bit of that Midas touch on this book.
How do they get you? How do they get you to that number one? Or I guess we're not going for number one. But we get you to climb that ladder. What's the
Sales.
solution? Sales. Go
Yeah.
on there. Buy a book.
Sales of the paperback book, which is on sale right now until Friday, which is tomorrow, for $12.99.
Okay.
And then leaving reviews, of course. Going on after you've read it, either the Kindle version or the paperback version of this beautiful book right here, and leave a review. And one of the things that separates this book, and then we're going to stop talking about this book, and we're going to talk about how we can change your life. One of the things that makes this special, besides the incredible endorsements that I got from Lou Holtz and Mel Robbins and people like that, is the fact that the book actually includes a journal after the four main parts where you actually engage with questions that I've outlined for you to help you process the lessons that main characters teach, because it is a fictional story that will lead readers to the truth.
Wow, that's amazing.
Now, yesterday I caught your Instagram TV post, and you you were like, "Who's Stassi Schroeder?" Right?
Yeah.
And it was.
I looked her up after.
Yeah. So my wife is a huge fan of the reality TV show that she's on. So I kind of chuckled to myself, and I was like, "It's funny because we watched I watched the episodes with her, and we watched the episode where she's writing the book and going through the process, and
Yeah.
if for somebody that's not a writer or an author, it can be quite a task. So before we get on into all the other stuff, just walk us through the process of how long it took, and the process of writing a book, because there might be a lot of people out there that are watching us that have interest in doing it and just have no idea where to start.
Yeah. So the first part of the process, and I just want to touch on the Stassi Schroeder thing real quick, because I literally did not know who she was.
I got that.
And I thought she was a stand-up comedian or something. But
Right.
she's like a Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah, Vanderpump
character.
Rules. she's a influencer, just like
Yeah.
a lot of
Right.
people. But
Yeah.
she wrote to her audience,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah, and it's crushing it. It's actually Oprah's number one. She's number two.
And she's in the top 10 3 different times for
Yeah.
the paperback and
yeah,
hardback
totally.
and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
So good for you, Stassi. Is that how you say it?
Stassi Schroeder.
Yeah, good for you, Stassi. We're celebrating you. The process is so important because, in fact, one of my guests that I had on my show was a guy by the name of Eli Bremer, and he is a pentathlete. He's an Olympic athlete, and a pentathlete that compete in 5 different sports. And I was talking to him about the process of preparing to compete at that level. And one of the things he said about that process of being a competitor is that you have to stop focusing on winning and start focusing on being good, because you can win by accident, but you can only be good on purpose.
Wow, that's deep.
And I was like, boom, my mind blew up on that one. And so I took that same approach to how I wrote the book. I didn't write the book with the intention of trying to be number one, right? I wrote the book, the moment I decided to write the book, I knew I had this message that needed to be communicated. And if I died without having put that message out into the world, then my 4 kids, yes, I have 4 children, and I do know how it happens, my 4 children would be worse off for it.
Right.
And so I just went to work one step at a time. And the very first thing is, what I would do is I would actually, I believe in God, so I have a prayer and meditation time that in the morning, and I would visualize the book. I would visualize the message. I would visualize the scene, and I would do it so intensely that I would get emotional about it. And then what I would do is I would take 3x5 cards, and I would write out these concepts from these I would write the concepts on these 3x5 cards, and then I would storyboard them out, almost like a movie. And so each part of the book is kind of storyboarded out, and then I would write based on the 3x5 card that was in front of me. And I didn't focus on editing immediately, because I think that's actually the one of the biggest problems that people encounter, is that as they're getting started doing anything, they constantly self-edit, right? And it actually stops them. It actually builds up blocks and prevents them from realizing what they're capable of doing. So the process is just starting. Visualization is huge. We could talk about that, because all sports and athletes and entrepreneurs need to incorporate visualization into their daily practice. But just getting going and not editing until you get almost done.
So can you had mentioned BHAG, right? Big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah.
This comes from Jim Collins' book Good to Great, which we've spoken here on many occasions. I know you're a fan. Explain to me, like, your understanding of BHAG and visualization. Is there similarities?
I mean,
that,
definitely you can. So there's absolute similarities. I mean, they're connected, right? So let's say you have a big, hairy, audacious goal.
And let's explain. Let's kind of walk this back to explain to people what a big, hairy, audacious goal is. Somebody has never heard a podcast before. Real briefly, that way we can understand the concept. Visualization is pretty easy to understand, but BHAG might be throwing people off. So we can.
BHAG stands for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. And let's say that you're an athlete and you want to win a gold medal. That's a big, hairy, audacious goal. You know. And so what we do to incorporate that is like an athlete. Most athletes have coaches, and they're sports psychologists primarily, and what they'll coach their athletes to do is to actually visualize them getting off the blocks and running and sprinting. They'll visualize the crowd. They'll hear the noises. They'll feel what they're feeling in their visualization process. But the biggest and most helpful thing that entrepreneurs and athletes that have taken visualization to the next level do is they actually insert in their visualization process adversity.
Wow. Okay.
So, for instance, they actually visualize getting a bad edit back, right? Or the power not running when you open your doors for the first time, or getting off the blocks and tripping, or having a false start, right? And the reason why that's important is because they prime themselves for how they could respond to it.
Wow.
Instead of react to it.
Sure.
And so it's actually doing like a little mindset jujitsu in advance.
Amazing.
And so I've done that really throughout the last 5 years, and really in particular in the last 3. There's a peak performance coach named Dr. Jim Afremow,
Sure.
who wrote a couple of really great books, The Champion's Mind and The Champion's Comeback and The Young Champion's Mind. And he is an expert at visualization and coaching athletes and NFL players
Sure.
and MLB players on that process.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh,
Is that helpful?
100% helpful all the way around. Was this a Mike Flynn BHAG, the book?
This became a BHAG. This became. I never envisioned writing a book. So I'm definitely a creative person. My dream in life was to be an actor.
Okay.
And I actually was pursuing that. I had done some professional theater. I'd done some independent films. And I was in the process of getting an agent. And I was being coached by people who were domain experts in that world, to saying, hey, Mike, you're really good. You have a chance at doing this. But then someone came along who I love and respected, who did not have any expertise in that domain, and said, you know what? You shouldn't do that because you're going to struggle. It's going to be hard. You're going to suffer. And I wanted this person's attention so badly that I listened. And I made a right turn.
Okay.
And I went to college.
Okay.
And I switched my major from radio, television, film to business.
Okay.
And I went and I worked for a PR firm. And then I, 15 years ago, joined the family business doing something I swore I'd never do. And then I actually thrived in that.
Okay.
And I used to believe that all of this stuff happened to me, right?
Okay.
Like all of the challenges, the rejection, the regret of not having just pursued the acting career, the being super successful in the financial services business right off the bat, and then almost losing everything in the financial crisis. I used to carry so much resentment. But then what I came to realize beginning in 2011 is that I hold the power over those things. They don't hold the power over me.
Right.
And it's the same for all of us. And that is one of the core principles of the book, is that the greatest crisis that we face as individuals is not a financial one. It's not being able to answer 4 fundamental questions.
Okay.
Who am I?
Okay.
How do I show up in the world? What do I do when I get there? And who do I do it with?
Okay. Amazing. Now, expanding upon those questions, right? Like, can you give me examples of your own personal life, what using those 4 questions?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
I mean, so who am I, right? So that is not a new question. I think
So you're basically asking, look in the mirror. Is that sort of thing? Asking
it's
who I am.
It's an existential question. Like, who am I? What am I here to facilitate? Right.
Okay.
And our narrative that we tell ourselves drives how we answer that question. And usually, it's the result of how we answer that question is how we understand the challenges that we face.
Sure.
And specifically failure. And so when we face hard things, when we do hard things and we fail, we experience what psychologists refer to as identity foreclosure.
Okay.
But what we know as identity crisis.
Sure.
I am a failure. Who am
Sure.
I? I'm a failure. Who am I? I'm fat. Who am I? I'm fill in the blank.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And those narratives drive our life.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And so for me, I had my 4th son. I have 2 girls, 2 boys. I had my second son, rather, my youngest. He's 8 years old now. In December of 2010, at the end of the financial crisis, and I'd started in 2004. I was successful right out of the gate. We closed,
which can be a challenge. Correct?
Yeah. I mean, I had great coaches and mentors along the way, including my dad.
Sure.
But I got really. By the way, the main character in this book is a financial advisor. Little personal element there.
Your father?
No, myself.
Yourself. Okay. I'm going to back this up again. Okay, so the identity crisis, right? Like not becoming the actor.
Yeah.
Was that something personally you struggled with? Beating yourself up and letting that kind of be your own personal narrative for a period of time. So this book is about you overcoming.
Well, this book is
or learning the skills.
This book is about teaching you, each of us, through. This is a fictional story that will lead readers to the truth, and it's based on real people. The main character in this story is a guy by the name of Steve, who happens to be a financial advisor, because part of it I'm drawing from my own story.
Okay.
And he starts in this business really motivated to have a positive impact in the lives of others, but then gets distracted by easy money. And then a crisis happens. He loses his clients. His health goes in the crapper. His relationship with his family does too. And when one of his main clients and dear friends leaves him, everything comes to a head and he nearly dies. Okay. I did not nearly die. just to
clarify, right?
Clarify. But I might as well. I mean,
emotionally dead.
Yeah,
right? Okay.
Definitely.
And then all this other stuff probably manifested should have been an actor or a quit.
Yeah. I was at the rock bottom, and then all of a sudden, well, look at this. Now here I am. I'm suffering. I'm struggling. I should have done that.
There wasn't the easy money to
because
smooth all that stuff out and put in the back.
Here's the truth about money. Okay.
Yeah.
That everybody needs to hear. Financial reward. Okay. Financial reward.
Yes.
Is the result of an exchange in perceived value. Okay. I want to say that again. Financial reward is the result of an exchange of perceived value. Okay? So if perceived value is subjective and can change, why do we ever allow it to define who we are? Because perceptions change all the time.
Absolutely.
And so we owe it to ourselves and all of the key stakeholders in our life to master who we are. Sure. Independent of any outcome.
Sure.
Because that will give us the ability to weather any storm.
Sure. And I can speak for myself. We went through the same recession. I opened up this business 15 years ago, so it was in that window, causing a lot of, I don't know if it was necessarily easy money in the beginning, but there was money coming right from the get-go, and there was no sign in my lack of experience at that particular time to prepare for that recession. And I too hit rock bottom where I was the only employee I had incredible amount of debt, lost faith in what I was doing personally, questioning constantly why I was doing this. I had made a fundamental mistake with my life. I'm not a college graduate. I went immediately from stuff I was doing into entrepreneurship. So there was a different time and space where we didn't have YouTube. You didn't have all the social media stars, entrepreneurs, which I think are, there's a lot of great things that come from that, right? Like first initially getting introduced to Gary Vee, and then, the window opens up and we were talking actually before the podcast started about like entrepreneur celebrity status, and I'm happy that you're not really chasing that. What I get from you and somebody, that little backstory, we both are from Aptos, California. I think your brother and my brother are good friends, right?
Yeah. Went to school together.
Yeah, so your brother's a really, really genuine guy. I think he's got nice family going for himself as well. So
one of the most likable guys, John, my brother John.
Yeah, John Flynn over there in Modesto or something like that now. So hey, John, if you're watching,
What's up, John?
If you're not, why aren't you? We'll talk about that later, right? There's a backstory. Similar growing up, Aptos, altruistic place, overall, but the big world is going to teach you some things, and I couldn't be where I am today without that grit it took to make it through that personal crisis. So just like you refine gold, how do you refine gold? You put heat to it.
Right.
And, I've quit at certain things in my life early on, and I never quit at this. But Brian can attest to you, because I don't know how much you follow us. Brian and I are both, at the time, we're competitors. He was the manager for the Vitamin Shop, which was the premier shop on the peninsula at that particular time.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. But and as we stay humble, right? But the main thing that I want to say is that I am thankful, and I'm sure you are, for this crisis, right? I think every person on earth needs to go through.
Well, it talks to the whole visualization of adversity, right? Like you actually, like that's kind of like revolutionary. Or if you're not doing that, like if you just have a vision board on your wall and you want to have a nice car or you want to have a nice house or whatever, and you're not putting those things in front of you that you're going to run into, right?
Right.
And you're just thinking to yourself, oh, as long as I put it on my vision board, it's going to happen. Well, yeah, but when it hits the fan, what are you going to do?
Or you lose it.
Right. Or I mean, like when it comes down to like I've been doing the marketing thing for just about a year and a half now with Kris, and venturing out on my own, and it's not easy. It's not easy to be constantly getting punched in the mouth. And if you're just going to put stuff on the board and not realize you're going to come into
you're going to get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, you're not. And I don't think anybody sets out to do to run into hard stuff, but it's going to happen.
So tell me, Mike, that stuff. So as we lay it on the table, that stuff is inevitable, right?
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
And you were saying earlier that a lot of successful people kind of plan for it.
Right.
What is your book? So taking Kris 2008. Would your book have helped me in that time of need? Help me navigate this? Because I would, at that time, had no tools to mitigate the stress. I had no tools. I felt alone. I didn't have any mentors.
Yes.
Like I said before, we live in a world now where I have a mentor. His name's Andy Frisella. Brian shares that same mentor. I listen to Andy every day. I listen to your podcast, which we'll get into later. Didn't exist.
Yeah.
At least I wasn't in my realm of understanding. I want to know how your book could have helped Kris Spencer back in 2008. His lowest points when my vision board was not getting a Ferrari, was not bouncing a check that week, right?
Yeah.
Like getting off, to my, going to my son's 4th birthday and not having to work the whole store at some point. You know? So,
well, I'm going to answer that, and before I do that, I want to mention a couple other things. You talked about earthquakes before. Sure. Where were you on October 17th, 1989?
I was in La Selva Beach, California. My friend Brett Matalich and I were in his room. Funny enough, we were walking home from the school bus talking about earthquakes. We were both heavily into skateboarding. And we were discussing about the next earthquake. Once one occurs, and it happened to occur about an hour and a half later, we were going to hit the wall because my friend Brett, someone had told him that it's much more of a fun ride. So as soon as we felt that earthquake rolling on, we both looked at each other. I ran to a wall, he ran to a wall, and we both rode that sucker out. But
my gosh.
It rode a little longer than we expected, and his mom was sleeping in the other room, woke up screaming. We could hear chimneys fall. Pretty much everything, every bookcase, every item in the kitchen was breaking. I thought I was dead. So, long story short, there you go.
I owe you, your friend, and your friend's mother an apology because the earthquake's my fault because I disobeyed my mother. She dropped she dropped off some groceries at 5:04 in the evening, and she said, "Michael, do not open that bag of Dorito chips until I get home."
Oh man, you are to blame.
And she went to go pick up my sister. And I opened up the bag of Dorito chips, and no less than a second later, the whole world starts shaking.
So you're not telling me you blamed yourself?
I'm 10 years old. Not really, but I tell that anecdotally because what happens with earthquakes is that almost every time there's an earthquake, there is an immediate deposit of gold made in the earth.
Interesting.
And I believe that there are clues throughout nature that we can learn from about how we master our own life. And so we all experience earthquakes in our life, right? And if we are aware, if we do the work, we can discover the veins of gold that have been deposited along the way.
Okay.
But they're not apparent. They're not apparent to us on the surface, right? Just like gold or any precious metal is not, you can't see it with the naked eye. You have to mine for it, right?
Right.
And so to answer your question, I think that this book would help anybody do that. Because in order for something to be true, it has to be true for all people, everywhere, at all times.
Okay.
Past, present, and future.
I see.
And this book is a fundamental lesson that will lead readers to the truth that has always dwelt within them. So if this were at Crossroads bookstore in Watsonville in 2008, which it's no longer there,
It's not even
unfortunately.
there anymore. Yeah, they're closed.
They
Yeah.
closed
Sadly.
because of a gigantic medical company that talks about thriving, and they put in a small business out of business. Anyway, we won't go there. But if you had picked up Master the Key at Crossroads bookstore, and within the first few pages, you would immediately relate to the character Steve.
Okay.
You would feel his pain,
Okay.
and he would feel your pain, and so there would be a shared relationship there. You would then go through his journey of kind of waking up and the mentors that are along the way, and so they would serve as your mentors. And then at his main mentor, who happens to be a janitor in this case, would give him a journal to help Steve, the main character, process the lessons that the janitor is teaching him. And inside of this book, you get the same questions that the janitor had given to Steve to process for your own life.
Wow. Okay.
So you get to master your story. You get to master your gifts. You get to master your action. And you get to master your community. So absolutely, if you had this book and you were in a state of crisis,
Sure.
I promise you that this book would set you up for significant more success on the back end of that crisis.
Okay.
Than if you're not at a crisis, if you're at peak success right now, and you feel like you need nothing because you're soaring, right? So we get a little bit egotistical and we lose a little bit of humility, right? This book is going to help both people, but it'll have a much more transformational impact on the person who's going through something challenging. This concept, the first part of it, is rooted in a psychological theory called self-efficacy. We all want to be efficacious. We all want to be effective. All of the supplements that you sell in here, efficacy is critical to them,
100%,
right? If they're not efficacious, you're out of business, right?
Sure.
And so we all want to feel that way too, right? And so the idea about mastering your story is progressing from you talked about process a second ago. It's progressing from asking the question, can I do hard things, to a statement, I can do hard things, to another statement, I'm worthy of doing hard things.
Okay.
And then bookending that with another question. What can I do with the hard things that I've experienced?
Okay.
And have you ever, who Jim Rohn is?
Yes, 100%.
So, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right?
Yeah.
So I created a tool called the Future 5,
Okay.
riffing off of Jim Rohn, giving him credit. But, there are 6 categories or 6 caves that we all need to explore in our inner journey for the gold.
Sure.
It has to do with our faith, our family, our fitness, our friends, our finances, and our fun.
Okay.
Okay, all F's, 6 F's.
Okay.
Faith, family, fitness, friends, finances, and fun.
Okay.
All right. And there are 6 caves that we all need to enter because that's where the gold lies. Okay, that's where that golden treasure lies, and that's and those are oftentimes, as Joseph Campbell says, those are the caves that we fear to enter. Okay, because that's where the treasure lies. And so we need to go there, and we need to find 5 people in each of those caves who are living currently where we desire to be.
I see.
And we don't need to obsess over them as a celebrity,
Right.
but we need to look at them holistically.
Sure.
Like what are they doing with their life, right?
What separates them
And it's not just their wealth, right? That's one aspect. How's their marriage?
Okay.
Right? How's their spiritual health, their physical health? How is their family relationship? How are they looked at from the community outside of their entrepreneurial success, right? And so not all the time, very infrequently, in fact, today, are you going to be able to get Andy Frisella to be your mentor unless you're paying him a significant chunk of money.
Sure.
But guess what? If you can't be part of his inner circle, or whatever they call it, the Ariette group or syndicate or something.
Right.
You you can listen to his podcast.
It's enough
and
for
he
me.
Can mentor you.
Enough
you
for
can
me,
listen
yeah.
to my podcast. You can buy this book. You
Sure.
can listen to Kris's podcast.
And the thing is, it's obviously we love Andy Frisella, but that's not the only person. So
Right.
I like, it's akin to when you start weightlifting, right?
Right.
Do you want to work out with the guy that's at the same guy or girl at the same level you're at, or do you want to find the person with the physique that you're trying to attain, and you want to become their friend and start lifting with them because they obviously have the skills or knowledge to get you to that point.
Yeah.
So, it's a well-rounded approach. Andy Frisella's great. I actually jump around. My moods change.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need more entertainment. Sometimes I'm Jocko podcast where I need that Navy SEAL approach.
I had him on my show.
Did you really?
Yeah. I interviewed him live.
No kidding.
Yeah, episode 25.
Let's talk about your show a little bit because I need to go back. I obviously missed some meat and potatoes there. I've listened to about 3 via my brother just saying, hey, check this guy out. And I'm like, didn't even really explain much of who you were. So I just started listening to the podcast. And Flynn, that name sounds familiar, but anyhow, there was some really cool stuff that I tried to implement via marketing. You had a gentleman, I think you can refresh my memory. We talked about that, but it was landing pages. And I personally didn't have the skills or the team, the personal skills to execute it. I didn't have any team members that were available at that time. Since then, Mr. Meek from Meek Marketing and Consultant, we have executed.
To the point where it's like a sickness.
Yeah, right.
Like
We've done a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
So beyond my wildest dreams. So the vision boards, the amazing part about once you start traveling down a road and somebody puts an idea, and then this is the reason why I like podcasts, YouTube videos, whatever floats your boat, having information from these celebrities. But Mike happens to be family association, happens to be, we're from Aptos, Watsonville area.
Corralitos, yeah.
Corralitos, our neighbors, we're county over. This is a gentleman that has brought Jocko, please refresh my memory of the person.
I've had Jocko on, I've had Lou Holtz on.
Holtz, incredible.
I've had, Aaron Bali, who is the creator of Udemy.com. I've had Mel Robbins on. I've had Olympic athletes on.
This is a guy in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
County over.
Yeah.
Writing a book, Mastering the Key, helping you work through your own, because we all have ups and downs. We have peaks and valleys, helping you work through these peaks and valleys, giving you an outline, a blueprint, roadmap, but done in a fictional setting, so you can kind of relate to the struggles that this character is going through. I don't know, man. It's the stuff that's happening in the peninsula, the stuff that's happening around me. I like Andy Frisella, but please, if you haven't listened to Mike's podcast, please let us know how to find it. But he is in town here. He's someone that's super accessible. He's on our little thing we're doing here. It's amazing. Let's support the guy. That's all. That's all I want to say.
It's called The Impact Entrepreneur Show. It's in the description. I think it's available on Spotify and iTunes and all of that place. But I want to say one.
It's on your hat too.
Brace
for Impact. I'm
this is my slogan, Brace for Impact, and the reason that is because when you become the person who you were created to be, you're going to set the world on fire, and you and everyone around you better brace for impact when that happens.
Sure.
I want to talk about passion for a second. I think you just mentioned that word a second ago. It's my pet word. I love to re-educate people about the meaning of the word passion. And I actually want to do that by telling people that if you're thinking about leaving your day job, slow down for a second, okay? The reason is because you probably don't understand what the word passion means. The word passion literally means the willingness to suffer for something.
Right.
And so when you understand that, when you do hit those hard times and the vision board's not working out, you're going to be willing to suffer for it. When you go to CrossFit like I do, and I work out with Greg Amundsen, who's the original CrossFitter, and he's like shredded, and I love working out with that guy, and all of I'm part of what we refer to as the 4 o'clock warriors, because we all the same crew kind of shows up at that 4 o'clock class.
Sure.
But Greg has a specific life that he's living, and he's incredibly disciplined. And I'm just going to be real. I like to drink bourbon, and I like to eat tortilla chips, and I'm not willing to suffer for being shredded.
Sure.
Okay? But I thought I was.
Okay.
But I had to put myself in a place where I could actually see what it took.
And you've obtained it, right? I've seen pictures where
Well,
you're
I'm fit. But
you're
I'm,
fit, but I think you were shredded, like, or at the point of where
I was pretty
enough to get a taste of what it took and to maintain.
I was like 10. I was like a 10% body fat.
Sure,
at
and
one point.
you're at a point where you're happy, you look great, you're healthy looking,
I'm happy, you know.
Sure, you fit right in,
you know. And,
Just
and
because you got a taste doesn't mean you liked it, right?
Right, yeah, well,
right, you know. And
but the thing is,
I wasn't willing to suffer for it.
You can long term, right? Like
Right.
everyone on this table, I gained weight easy. I've actually been down to 6%. Had to work out twice a day for 3 months, an hour of cardio, watch every macro, every grain of rice that went into my mouth. And as soon as I ate a cheeseburger, I gained 15 pounds. It's just reality, you know. Smooth out. I had abs. They disappeared like the last bite of the Whopper,
Damn those Viking jeans.
Yeah, right. So Irish, right? Yeah. Irish Viking, you know. So anyways, you know, and plus, to me, you want to talk about passion. It's not a passion. You know, a passion is being healthy for my family, sticking around long term. I'm riding my bike on the trail. We're following. I had to reset. You know, I had to follow the rules of Andy. You know, the protocol and restart my 75 days of double workouts and everything.
Talk about him, man. Go back and watch his transformation.
Yeah,
I mean,
look at this. This gentleman is how much you down, Brian?
30 pounds.
30 pounds.
Dude.
He's been true.
55 days, yeah.
And you were on your honeymoon. I've been dying to ask you, did you...
I got married.
Did you have to restart?
No.
My gosh.
No alcohol. I had...
You double workouts every day?
Double workouts, even
in Vegas?
Even on the wedding day.
The wedding
On
day?
the wedding day, I went
Well, does that count?
Oh, no. Before the wedding, I went for a walk.
You know what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah, no. No, because that was like, if it was
So you had
30, if
three
it was
workouts.
30-second workouts, then yeah.
TMI.
Yeah, exactly. I went for a walk that morning, came back, hung out with, my kids a little bit, my two sons, and then lifted weights, took a shower,
Wow,
shaved,
see?
went, read my book while I was waiting, got
so you
dressed. I
had
did
your
all my
water,
stuff.
drinking your water, and
Yeah, I had a
reception.
gallon, my gallon
have you
with
guys
me.
talked about the 75?
Well, that's what he's doing.
Every
Yeah.
day,
So
every
just to
day.
clarify,
Yeah.
so
Because I've seen it on social, but I don't know exactly.
yeah,
I've seen
let's
people-
talk about it again because I had to restart. I went on vacation.
Yeah.
I didn't have the discipline, and that disappoints me, right? Because how do we
Right.
get self-esteem? We follow through what we tell ourselves. But
It's-
it was a hard thing to do. But even Andy will talk about. I came back Monday, and I'm not saying I fell off the wagon. It's like we literally went to Disney World. My wife has the watch where we track every. We literally like 7.8 miles one day, 9.4, 11 the next day. I was working my butt off.
Right.
However, the protocol says 2 45-minute workouts. I wasn't tracking my water. I was drinking water. I didn't know if
Right.
I got a gallon or not. I'm freaking starting over.
Yeah.
It
Right.
says no cheats, no freaking cheats.
Yeah.
Right.
That's Andy Frisella's style, but if you're going to do something, you do it right and you follow through. So
Right.
Right.
I had a piece of pizza one night. I'm done. It's over.
Right.
Yeah.
Starting from scratch.
Yeah.
I didn't.
That's so, I don't know, you know, but do you need
Yeah.
explanation of the 75
So
hard?
75-day hard,
Yeah.
like 75 hard challenge is 2 workouts a day. One of them has to be outside. It's mandatory. 45 minutes. One of them has to be outside. Now we live in a beautiful area. I spent my honeymoon in Vegas. 90 degrees. Like it's not hard to do, right? It's
Yeah.
easy. Go for a walk. It's not like CrossFit. You don't have to do CrossFit, power lift. You don't have to do anything crazy. I do lift. I lift 3 days a week, and I run and walk the other days, right? And then, you got to drink a gallon of water I haven't had.
Hence, we did that annoying exchange. Behind you, but
I've had a few energy drinks, but I've had nothing but water. A couple times I've had iced tea and coffee, but other than that,
tell Mike what it's done for you though, like mindset wise, and
So no alcohol. You got to eat right. You can follow any diet you want. I do like a modified keto / intermittent fasting diet. So like I've cut out carbohydrates. I used to eat a lot of candy, a lot of sugar. I work for Coca-Cola, so I work nights. Like I have access to all the soda I can drink at any time. I was drinking more soda than I was water, and probably a gallon a day of freaking Coke Zero, every day. Yeah, like it was. When you can go to the machine and you get it for free.
Which dehydrates you, right?
Yeah,
it's not the carbohydrates.
It was just all bad.
Empty calories, dehydrates your chemicals.
It was like the 0-calorie stuff, but it's just, it's as bad or worse, And then, you got to take a progress pick and then read 10 pages of any book,
And I recommend Master the Key.
I recommend it too.
I'm on the last 10 pages of Jocko's Dichotomy of Leadership.
Oh, cool.
So a really great book. I'm excited to hand it over to Kris. And then, so 55 days. I went through a wedding. I went through my birthday, my grandmother's birthday, my mother's birthday, Easter, family in town. My wife's family's from New Jersey. So
Italians.
Right? Italians. And then, we went to Vegas. We're lucky because we got this stay with family in Vegas, and so you're not like down on the strip. But when we would go down on the strip, it was salads. It wasn't. You're watching. I'm like, I want to eat those French fries, but you can't. And you're in like one of the food capitals of the world, and you're like making better choices.
Dude, I had one of the best steaks in Vegas I've ever had ever.
Where at?
At Boujon.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the top places.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after 55 days. I don't think I maybe, but I know I won't go back to the drinking beer the way I was.
Right.
And bourbon. I love bourbon too, but like it was getting to the point where it's like,
how do you feel? Game changer.
I mean, it's
light switch.
It's not even like a comparison. Like there's I can't even remember what it used to be like. Let's put it that way. Like we had before the wedding had decided that our favors were going to be gummy bears, like bags of gummy bears for everybody. And I made them all because that's just the way it worked out. And when I'm making them, and I got the gloves on, and I'm packing everything, the smell, which used to be like I couldn't eat them fast enough, was like turned me off. I don't think I'll ever eat another gummy bear in my life, and I'm pissed off about it. But that's the truth.
Quick little insight on gummy bears. The red ones. They actually get the coloring from bugs.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if that helps, I don't know. I mean,
any
red coloring, it comes from.
But you know what you're proving to yourself? You're actually what the reason why you can't act. You actually, I want you to learn this because you're actually proving a psychological principle. So you did something hard, right? And you've done something hard,
right? And
you can't remember what it was like,
right?
That's actually rooted in science,
yeah.
And you're building these new neural pathways,
exactly.
That
new neuropaths,
new neural pathways that are going to create the ability for you to do new things and to take on new challenges.
Right, because I think I wouldn't say we're stuck in a rut because we were still.
We were. We were
physically. We had reached our. We were hammering it, but I remember
the axe wasn't sharp.
We would come and just sit around. Like we would say, like, yeah, Brian, you got to be here at 1. Okay.
Yeah, and then
what would happen when at 1 o'clock we'd hit a wall?
2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then it'd be like, I got to go to work, man.
Yeah, nothing would get done. Nothing would or
for like 6
far
months.
Less.
Yeah, backwards.
Far less. So I've heard. I don't know if it might have been from a podcast, but I kind of like, you go from one podcast and the guest on a podcast leads you to another person. That's the beauty of being into personal development, right? And I'm sure it's taken you. I mean, you've gone. Tell us about like some of the. I think you went on a trip. I saw on your Facebook there was somebody you were following that you went on a trip. I don't know. It could be something that I mistook, but like there was some sort of like personal development person you flew across the country as something to see. But that being said, like the people you've had, the relationship you built, have probably taken you farther. Than you've ever thought. Correct?
I mean, I'm blown away by what the doors of this has opened up. One of my childhood personal heroes is Lou Holtz.
Right.
Not only did I interview him for my
Sure.
show, but he's the first endorsement for my book. And I never in my wildest dreams.
But you're at that point where Lou Holtz is actually a person now to you, right? And let me
Right.
explain he's not just this unattainable celebrity. Because like if you're like me, I look at Frisella Holtz, Jocko now because his podcast is blowing up. It's like meeting Michael Jordan or something because we're that invested in this mindset.
Yeah.
So when you have a Lou Holtz, I'm assuming if he's endorsing your book, he's on your cell phone. If you text him now, I'm sure he would text you back. It's not this. I mean, you have transitioned where it's reality, right? And if you can do it,
Peers.
Mike,
They're peers. They're not.
Peers.
They're not
Yes.
like.
I mean, he's not like we don't call each other and
Sure.
and we're not like BFFs, but like but there are other people like okay, we talked about Jocko. There's a guy named Kevin Lace who's a New York Times bestseller of a book called The Last Punisher. He was a fellow sniper on SEAL Team 3 in Jocko's Team Bruiser unit with Kris Kyle. I've been texting him this morning. In fact, if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see a picture of him holding my book.
Amazing. Do you want us to drop that Facebook page right now? Or you want to drop that Facebook page so people can go check it out?
It's just, I think if you go to facebook.com/TheImpactMike, that's my personal Facebook page. It should
We're gonna
link
drop
up
it in
there.
the comments right now. Let me just pull it.
Yeah,
up
we'll
here.
drop it in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot, actually, the whole 75, kind of circle back a little bit, the 75 hard thing, that's what Andy talks about, is you building the habits and the pathways of success, because if you can do this, I'm 55 days in. I'm actually, technically, I'm 57 days into everything except for one part, so it's 55 days officially, but I've been doing the diet and the workouts and all that stuff for 2 more days. I just didn't take the damn pictures. I thought it was below me.
Well, I remember you just came
Beneath
in one
me.
day.
Yeah,
You're like, I'm doing this.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, I'll do it too.
I mean,
that's
had
kind
a
of friendship.
little bit-
That's like the 5 people around you.
Right.
You're doing it, or I'm doing it too.
Right.
And
nobody
that's
else
what I need.
understands.
That's like, is
My
that what
wife-
you meant?
My wife doesn't even get it. Like
Yeah.
we've had not arguments, but like this is like I've had to tell her multiple times like I'm not stopping. There's nothing that's going to stop me from doing. I won't eat. How's that? I won't eat if all we have is fast food. I'm not going to eat that day. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to drink my water.
Takes some to
I'm gonna
tell
read my
an
book.
Italian woman that
Yeah.
it ain't it.
Yeah, well,
My
she's
wife's
always
a
worried,
quarter
like,
Sicilian.
yeah, she's always worried, like, you're going to starve.
Starve to
Like,
death,
what are you
right,
going to
yeah.
do? And actually, what it did for her was it motivated her, to get back on track. And we had a wedding. We had some motivation. But for me, it was like, I have to get out of the funk that I'm in.
Let me tell you, I did the same for my wife. She's getting up, driving to Monterey, doing her bar classes, and doing
Right.
and it just takes and I think both of our spouses. I'm assuming the same for you, Mike. It's if we're letting things slide, we're not being the power of example at home, right? And like if she's sliding, I'm sliding. But if either one of us just picks up and goes, it's the same with Brian and I. Hey, let's do this. You're doing it. I'm doing it. My wife, you're doing it. I'm doing. She's
Right.
doing her own version because they're never going to do anything that we do.
Not
right?
this hard. It's hardcore. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody that's not willing to suffer. Right. It takes a passion to do it. It's not about getting ripped, and it's not about it's about accomplishing something that's not easy.
Sure.
Totally. And speaking of spouses, it's about, we love our spouses, right? So it's like, there's a giving aspect and then there's a sacrifice aspect. And so by making the sacrifices that you guys were talking about doing, because it's easy to go grab that hamburger and dominate it, right? The burrito, whatever it is. Trust me, I know. But like when you don't do that, it's a different way of saying to your family, I love you, and I'm willing to suffer for you because
Right.
I really want that burrito right now,
Sure.
that chocolate chip cookie, but I want to be with you more, right?
Yeah.
And I want to be present to you more because here's what's going to happen when you eat that burrito. It's going to satiate you immediately, and then it's going to cause you basically to fall asleep, and so you're going to be kind of lethargic when you're around your kids. When your 10-year-old son says, "Hey, Dad, let's go play catch," you're going to be sitting on the couch saying, "I don't feel like it right now. I'm too tired."
Burrito coma, son. Sorry, you can't do. But isn't that amazing? Small tweaks.
Small tweaks.
Small tweaks.
Well, I don't even have time to like sit on the couch anymore.
Right.
You know, like I sit at my desk when I'm at home and I work, and I sit at my desk when I'm at work and I work on a lot of different things there. But I used to like sit on the couch like in the middle of the day, right? Because my normal shift doesn't start until later on in the day, so I have like the whole day to do whatever I want. I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to do it on the weekends anymore because now I feel the need to like do something, constantly be doing something because I have the energy, I have the time, I have the mental energy.
It brings like that childlike feeling back, man.
Right.
I was on a skateboard, Solvang. We went to Solvang. We've been to Solvang 5 times. There's a skate park in Solvang.
Is there really?
Yeah, it's a really good one. My kids were there. I'm like, let's bring our skateboards. We kind of instead of going there to drink wine and cheese and be lazy, right?
Yeah.
We went to Solvang. We were up at 6 a.m. The kids had their, this is straight 75 hard. And I really don't even like talking about the fact that I don't even really know if I even went off the diet. But it is that extreme, and I respect the process so hard. I can't say that I formally went through with it. Right. And that's disappointing for me to say. But back then, I was doing 2 workouts a day. I walked in Solvang, around the town, and I saw the town where, in a perspective I wouldn't have if I was drinking a scotch or some wine and just relaxing. But the point is, 6 a.m. we were up, sticking with our routine. I went to the skate park, skateboarded around for 45 minutes, fasted, drank water. My kids skateboarded. They went and had pancakes. We had like omelet, ate clean the whole time. It was just a completely different experience than any other time that I've been there. I felt like came back to work rejuvenated. It wasn't about being lazy. I felt more bonded with my family because food affects everybody. And the knowledge of that next level mindset where you're not letting food control you. You are eating to sustain your energy levels, but to also be present, aware with your family. It's really a game changer, and it's so easy to let that slip away from you. And this is like that 1% extreme mindset, to be hyper aware of that, but changing those neural pathways. Andy, I think has spoken about, maybe not has broken it down, but I'm almost positive he's hyper aware of like what the intent of the 75 hard was to create discipline. Yeah. So, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's a million amazing people out there. Your book is brand new. It dropped Monday, like we said. It's available on Amazon. So let's get them up. Help, as a local guy. So most of our viewership is local.
Paperback and Kindle, right?
Yeah, paperback and Kindle. The Audible version will be coming later.
Are you doing the voice? Are you doing the voice?
I'm reading it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I have the good radio voice.
He does, man.
Yeah, I like. I listen to a lot of. He says he listens to a lot of podcasts. I listen to probably 10 times more than he does. Audiobooks, everything's audio for me because I don't have time to like sit down and watch a video sometimes. Yeah. But I'm constantly moving somewhere from one place to the next in my car or whatever. And anybody that can do their own book, I have a lot of respect for because you can hire somebody to do it, but if you can sit down there and then passionately read your own,
I wrote every single word on that in this book, and I designed the layout in such a way so it's super easy to read. Yeah, it's big font too. Big font, not like vision impaired type font, but like mid-size, good size font. So because I want this to be accessible, and I actually, before I sent the book to the editor, one of the things I did was I put it in a tool called the Hemingway Editor app. I put every single page through that app to make sure that its reading level was at the 6th or 7th grade. Okay. So that it would be super easy for people to digest. Not a lot of like complicated sentences and structures long and concepts words. And long $10 words. Just because what's his name? Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo, one of the two, said that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And one of the greatest compliments I've received from a friend of mine who is one of the guys that I go to when I know I need like the absolute brutal truth. I sent him the book, and he texted me back, simple but compelling. And that I'm like, sweet, we have a winner.
You're on the right track. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
We'll be doing this for an hour. It escaped us.
That's good though.
Bonkers.
No, it's great because some of these have been like pulling teeth, man. No, I'm just
Not
kidding.
that-
What you need to know, and
He's been pulling
probably
teeth,
your brother Matt can attest to this, that whenever you get a Flynn talking,
Oh, yeah.
it's hard to get a Flynn to shut up.
Spencer's as well.
you know,
So,
the last name's
the name of the book again is
Master the Key, a story to free your potential, find meaning, and live life on purpose.
and your social.
Yes,
handles.
so I am on Instagram and Twitter at The Impact Mike. My Facebook page for the podcast is The Impact Entrepreneur Show. I'm available on I have a personal profile on Facebook as well, where I've been sharing a lot of stuff. There's no back end funnel that I'm trying to get people into to pitch them on a course that they're going to buy for $9.97. Like this is the message. Like this is it, right? And so there's no gimmicks here.
So Mike's funnel is $12.99,
Yes.
or you can get the $1.99 Kindle version if you
Until
wanna read
Friday,
it.
and then the Kindle goes up to $6.99, and the
$6.99.
paperback goes up to $14.99.
so get it
Good.
now.
Raise your
So-
prices.
Yes.
So that's great, man.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah.
No,
you're
no,
welcome.
thank you guys. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's been
and
very-
you know, I think the ultimate like underlying theme here is, you know, you have all the tools. You just have to go and figure out how you're going to unlock them.
And Andy will
yourselves,
tell
man.
you the same exact thing. I mean, like he and Jocko and all of this stuff, right? Like, forget about all of the stuff. We got all these cameras and stuff here, and it's the purpose of them is to facilitate the message, right? And so each one of us, when we think about our purpose and what we're here to do, the most important question, and maybe we can wrap with this, the most important question that we can each ask ourselves every day is not what is my purpose? It's what am I here to facilitate? And that opens the doors to a much broader experience of life and impact.
Love it. Perfect. Well, I can't say add anything better than that. So
Right on, guys.
that's a wrap.
Thank you.
Matt,
All right, everybody. So it's been the Misfit Sessions podcast, episode 10.
Wow.
We missed 2 weeks, but we're going to be back with a vengeance. Again, my name is Brian Meek, the owner-operator of Meek Marketing and Consulting. And we were just educated with a fantastic author, Mike Flynn. Everybody out there, have a great day. And Kris, you have anything to add before we leave?
I just encourage you to get his book. That's all, man.
All right, you can
Thank
find
you.
it on
Support local.
Amazon. And yeah, everybody, we'll see you later.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, dude. I didn't realize that there was actually going to be two, so I only